Every time a new week of Philadelphia football rolls in, you expect that familiar spark in the air. The kind of confidence that usually surrounds a roster built to contend, but lately, that spark has been flickering, turning into this strange mix of tension and frustration, especially when you look at how the offense has been stumbling. And the first guy to really put a voice to that has been Devonta Smith. He finally stepped up and addressed what everyone already felt watching from the outside, talking about the weight of carrying an offense that just is not flowing and the way the whole group has been handling that inside the building. The wild part is how clear the disconnect has become between the two sides of the ball. On Umlato, the defense is playing with swagger, playing fast, playing confident, like a unit that knows exactly who it is, and on the other side, you have the offense searching for answers every single week, trying to rediscover something that used to come naturally. But before diving into that whole storm, we have to talk about the one thing that always sets the tone heading into a matchup: the injury report. And for once, it actually brought some relief, of course. Losing Lane for an extended period is a blow no team takes lightly. But outside that, the news was about as clean as you could hope for this time of year. Full participants across the board, guys moving well, energy high, and even Cam Jurgens showing progress in returning from that concussion. When a team is dealing with inconsistency, sometimes health alone injects a little hope back into the building. But the big story was not who was available. The big story was how certain players were responding to all the noise around them, especially when someone asked Devonta about frustration with Jalen Hurts during games. People have been trying to stir that pot for weeks, but Devonta did not bite. He answered with the clarity of someone who understands the responsibility they all share, saying straight up that everyone is frustrated because the offense is nowhere near the standard they set for themselves, and that is what people sometimes forget when you have this much talent stacked together. The expectations do not just come from fans or media, they come from inside the room. Those guys know what they are capable of. They know what it looks like when everything clicks. But while Devonta kept things calm, another name sparked an entirely different debate: A.J. Brown. The narrative that he somehow fell off took over conversations in a way that felt more emotional than logical. Somebody threw out a line, somebody else ran with it, and suddenly it became this whole storyline, like the guy magically stopped being elite overnight. And his answer to that was priceless. He flipped it right back, basically saying if his numbers are down and that means he fell off, then what does that mean for other stars out there dealing with the same thing? And he was not wrong. It is not always about the receiver. Sometimes it is the protection. Sometimes it is the flow of the offense. Sometimes it is the rhythm between play caller and quarterback. A lot trickles down when the offense is not operating as one unit. So when he responded, he was speaking facts. He was not calling anyone out. He was not starting drama. He was just pointing out what any player who has been around the league understands. Numbers do not always tell the whole story. The funny part is how quickly fans jump to extremes over something so harmless. It is like people were waiting for a reason to get bothered. And yeah, A.J. Brown has had moments this season that rubbed people the wrong way. No one is pretending everything has been perfect, but turning one comment into a meltdown, talking about trading the guy, or acting like he suddenly turned into a problem, is so I foi exaggero, and that is exactly the kind of energy that ends up feeding unnecessary drama. Because once fans jump in, then comes the media, then comes the speculation, and suddenly something that did not even need to be a headline becomes a full-blown storyline. And while all that was going on, Maciuma Vez-Surgeram reports about the locker room being lopsided. That the vibe on the defensive side is completely different from what is happening on offense. And honestly, anyone watching the games can see why. The defense has climbed week after week, turning into a unit that looks nothing like the one we saw early in the season. Remember that first matchup against the Giants when the defense looked lost? Nobody knew who fit where, communication was off, and the young players were struggling to keep up with the speed. But look at them now, and Drew Mukuba has grown every single week and is starting to play like someone who belongs on the field every snap. Kobe Dean has been a difference maker again, bringing that energy and intelligence he was known for. Jalen Phillips came in and instantly added a new level of punch to the front. Nolan Smith returning, even on limited snaps, makes a noticeable impact because of his burst. And guys like Jalen Hunt have settled into their roles and are playing confident football. When a defense finds its identity mid-season like that, the vibe naturally rises with it. They earn that confidence. The offense, on the other hand, Looked like it was finally clicking right before the bye. Those games against the Giants, Eos, Vikings, Masharam, Exatamente, Okuo, Attack, Podia, sir. The run game worked, the pass game worked, the timing was cleaner, everything looked complimentary. And then, after the bye, it was like somebody hit reset and sent them back to the beginning of the season. Drive stalled, situational football fell apart, rhythm disappeared. And that is where the frustration comes from. Because they already proved they can look like a top offense, it is not potential anymore. It is evidence. So when the defense keeps climbing and the offense keeps stumbling, claro que vai durar essa. Sensakeo estrana dentro do elenco, a defense that feels like it is carrying the weight. And an offense that knows it is supposed to be better than this, but cannot quite put the pieces together. Devonta spoke on that feeling too. He did not blame Jalen. He did not blame coaches. He did not point fingers. He said exactly what needed to be said. Everyone is frustrated because they all know the standard. And he is right. This offense has too much talent to be this inconsistent. You do not have guys like Devonta, AJ, Dallas, Saquon, and Hurts and then settle for an offense that goes cold for entire stretches. And he mentioned something important, the identity. Every year, teams talk about finding their identity. That one thing they can lean on when games get messy or when they need a spark. Right now, this offense still does not have one. They are trying to figure out whether the run game is going to take over or whether the passing game is going to open things up. And until one of those areas steps up consistently, they will keep searching for something they have not found yet. What keeps this whole situation from spiraling is the fact that the defense has been good enough to keep them alive. This is the kind of defense that can take a team deep into the postseason. They have the speed, the discipline, the health, and now the rhythm. But to actually dominate in January, the offense has to join the party. It has to get fluid again, has to find that connection, has to respond to the noise in a productive way. Because if they do, if they match the level of the defense, this team becomes dangerous again. Very dangerous. And everything the fans have been stressing about for weeks suddenly turns into motivation instead of frustration. When you listen to the way these players talk, you can feel that mix of urgency and belief. Like they know the clock is ticking, but they also know there is still time to flip the script. And that brings us right back to what is happening behind closed doors. Because the vibe in the locker room says everything. You have a defense celebrating every stop, every turnover, every big moment, practically carrying the swagger of a unit that knows it can win any matchup. Eles estão se divertindo, se conectando, crescendo juntos. And then you look over at the offense and the energy just feels heavier. Guys sitting with tablets longer than usual, longer meetings, longer conversations, trying to figure out why something that should be second nature suddenly feels like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. And that is the contrast that people keep talking about. The imbalance that becomes obvious no matter how much the team tries to keep things internal. The interesting thing is that the defensive players have said over and over that they do not feel pressure from the offensive struggles at all. They trust those guys. They have been around them long enough to know what they can do. But trust does not stop the frustration, especially for the offense itself. Because every receiver wants the ball, every running back wants lanes, every quarterback wants the rhythm of the game in the palm of his hand. And when something breaks that rhythm, even if it is not any one person's fault, it feels like everything gets magnified. That is why Devonta's calm tone stood out. He did not feed the negativity. He did not fan the flames. He just acknowledged the truth. Nobody is satisfied. Nobody is happy with these results. And nobody is pretending that this is the best version of the Philadelphia offense. The honesty is what made it hit harder, because it came from someone who is usually more reserved. When a guy like him admits the offense is not where it needs to be, that says a lot about how real the conversations inside the building have become. And if you know Devonta, you know he does not speak just to fill space. He speaks with intention. The way he talked about weekly conversations inside the offense shows they are trying, genuinely trying, to fix things instead of hoping it magically comes together. They talk about what worked last week, what looked sloppy, what can be adjusted, what they need to emphasize. These are not guys winging it. They are grinding through film, picking apart mistakes, searching for the one thing that will bring everything back in sync. But as he said, nobody knows exactly what the offensive identity is yet, and that is the core of the problem. When you are 11 weeks into a season and still cannot point to one thing you do better than anyone else, it is tough to build momentum. Some weeks the run game emerges. Some weeks the passing game flashes, but nothing has been consistent enough to establish a foundation. And while all this was happening, outside voices kept stirring the pot, spreading little rumors that there was tension between Jalen Hurts and the receivers, especially during games when drives stall. But Devonta shut that narrative down with one sentence. He did not need Dietrich's. He just said, "The offense as a whole is frustrated because the standard is higher than what they are showing." And that is it. That is the story. The frustration is with the results, not each other. These guys have too much respect to point fingers. They know they win as a group or they fall as a group. And honestly, anyone watching the tape can see the blame does not belong to just one person. Some plays are on execution, some are on timing, some are on blocking, some are on play design. Nothing is consistently failing, but nothing is consistently hitting either. That is the weirdest part of it all. It is not one fatal flaw. It is little pieces of different things adding up. Meanwhile, the defense keeps stacking performances like a team on a mission. It is crazy how different they look from the early games. Back then, communication was shaky. Adjustments came late, and young players were thrown into situations they were not fully ready for, but they grew fast. And once veterans returned and the lineup settled, the whole unit tightened up. You can see the confidence in every snap. Guys are attacking the line with purpose. Coverage looks cleaner, and they are playing fast, reacting without hesitation. And when a defense hits that point, it gives the whole team a safety net. It gives the offense breathing room. But it also raises expectations because now the offense is expected to rise with them. Nobody wants a season where one side of the ball has to carry the whole load. That does not win deep postseason games. Balanced teams win in January, and the funny thing is the offense does not need to be perfect. They just need consistency. They need to find one thing, one reliable spark that becomes their anchor. Last season, they had it. They controlled tempo, they controlled possession, they controlled physicality. This year, it has been like chasing a ghost version of themselves. Every time they get close, something forces them to reset. But you can tell the players believe this thing can turn fast. Jalen has carried teams before. A.J. Brown has dominated stretches before. Devonta has taken over games before. Dallas can explode at any moment, and when Saquon finally gets lanes, he is still one of the most dangerous runners in the league. There is too much talent for this offense to stay stuck for long. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments and let's talk birds. Whispers are spreading across Philadelphia, and fans are already bracing for heartbreak. Sources close to the team suggest that Jalen Hurts, the face of the Eagles' offense, may be on his way out of the city. The mere thought has sent shockwaves through the fan base, with social media flooded by reactions ranging from disbelief to outright sorrow. Hurts, who has been a symbol of hope and resilience for the Eagles, has been praised for his leadership, his grit, and the way he seems to carry the weight of an entire city on his shoulders. And now, that very symbol might be slipping through Philly's fingers. Insiders are hinting that negotiations behind the scenes have reached a critical point, and the club might be exploring options that could shake up the roster in ways no one expected. While no official announcement has been made, murmurs of a potential trade or contract dispute have already fueled heated debates among pundits and fans alike. Eagles supporters are clinging to memories of Hurts' most electrifying moments, scrambling past defenders, launching pinpoint passes, and rallying the crowd with his unyielding spirit. The thought of seeing him in another uniform is enough to bring tears to the eyes of even the most stoic Philly faithful. The city itself seems to be holding its breath. Barbershops, sports bars, and office break rooms are all buzzing with speculation. Could this be the end of an era, or just another dramatic twist in the high-stakes world of professional football? Some insiders suggest that the situation is complicated, with multiple teams reportedly interested in acquiring Hurts, drawn to his rare combination of arm strength, athleticism, and leadership. Meanwhile, Eagles management remains tight-lipped, only adding to the sense of anticipation and dread, whatever unfolds. One thing is clear: Philadelphia loves Jalen Hurts, and the very idea of his departure has left a city united in sadness, tears, nostalgia, and endless what-ifs hang over the team. Like a storm cloud, fans are left wondering if the next chapter will be written without their star quarterback, and whether Philly's famed resilience will be tested once more. For now, all that can be done is watch, wait, and hope that this rumble of rumors doesn't become a heartbreaking reality. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.